All right. Well, I guess we can kick it off. Welcome everyone. This is pretty exciting space for us. Obviously we've been working closely alongside Injective for quite a while. We had some big news last week, and so we're going to dive a little bit deeper into both projects, what this means, and then, of course, get some spicy takes from two of the industry leaders, and go from there. So to kick it off, Mirza, if you want to go with a quick intro and then pass it off to Mr. Banksy.
Yeah, sure thing. So, hey everyone, this is Mirza. Most of you know me. I run the business team here at Injective. Um, and yeah, I've known Burnt for years and years, ever since he burned the Banksy 3 years ago. So yeah, excited to see the evolution and excited to tell all of you about some of the cool things we have coming up.
Yeah, I guess. Hi everyone. I'm Burnt Banksy. I've known Musa also for many, many years. Back from when we were very VDF focused over here at Injective.
Yes, throwback. Good throwback.
But yeah, it's. I love the Injective team. I don't know. I feel like everyone here probably knows how close we are. By the way that we also shitpost on Twitter and talk in respective group chats of each other. So this will make for an interesting
I never should post. Everything I post is very serious and
Wait,
academic.
oh my God, dude, you posted something yesterday or Saturday that made me want to literally cry. Hold on, I have to pull this up.
It was actually amazing. I thought it was hilarious.
The Saturday one, I was dead. What was it? Someone just reminded me that it was Saturday. Who cares? There's work to be done. I hate you so fucking much.
It was true. I was staying in Saturday night. I'm like, why does everyone want to go out? I have so much work to do.
I hate you so much. All right, so let's bring in it. Can you give us a little history of Injective? Give a brief overview on the project. Mhm.
I think most people know. I'm moving on. Let's
Okay.
let's just go into you.
Oh Jesus, already. Yeah, I mean everyone here knows me. It's hard to not know me. I would say. Like I would say when it comes to brand knowledge, it's probably Zion one, Injective two, and so I feel like I don't.
That's
I
what I think.
don't.
That's the pecking order. I think of you and then Elon Musk when it comes to just branding and performance.
Just pure branding and unadulterated speed of execution. All right. What? Let's see. Hey, Misa, here's a philosophical question here. Why have we not hit a critical mass scale in the industry? This is from a burnt fondue who made a list of stupid fucking questions.
I think that's a good question. No, like actually, I think it's a good question.
Okay,
I
okay,
think
we'll take it
okay,
seriously.
okay.
We'll take it
My
seriously.
no, no, I am. I actually think the main reason is too many people in crypto are just obsessed with writing research papers and sounding cool on paper instead of actually thinking about, oh, is this what actual people want? Is this how we actually onboard users? So I think it has a lot to do with that. If you think of most like hot up and coming projects, they don't actually care about user onboarding. They just care about, hey, like who can create like the best new restaking protocol, who can create like XYZ, ZK, blah, blah, blah. But the average user doesn't even know or care about those things. So I think that's key number one. Key number two is there's a lot of just copy pasta across blockchains. So if you look at every single blockchain today, um, most of them are just like copying the same lending protocols, etc., right? Like the same AMMs, but you only have the same group of users. They're looking for something net new, which I think, weirdly enough, a lot of the things that helped onboard people into crypto, like let's say NFTs or meme coins, they tend to be the least technically challenging because that's how you actually get mass adoption. It's when you sort of abstract away the technicalities and onboard people, right? So yeah, that's my very serious answer and something I think a lot about in terms of crypto and where this industry is headed. Just because we just are so obsessed with technical jargon that we actually don't even care about how to onboard users most of the time.
Very true. I do gotta make a point that you should have seen Julie when you answered that question as she put her head on the desk and then stood up in pure disappointment.
Julie, you didn't like my answer? Do you have a better one? I would love to hear your insights here.
Yeah, Julie, we would love to hear your insights. No, I think I think that's a very good point. As some of you may know, yesterday I broke down crying as I saw a mass wave of people who haven't been able to interact with the blockchain because of the technical barriers. It's obviously a very emotional moment for me. And that's what we've been doing over here at Zion for 2 years. I think I also think that like on the product side, everything, to Muse's point of like being copy pasta, I think we found a pretty solid product market fit with DeFi, but I think we're at that like impetus. Oh my God, it's Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi. I didn't put my head down because of the answer. I put my head down because we're not even answering any of the questions.
He said a good.
I
Don't
answered
look at
it.
me like that.
This is already going haywire.
Can we get Eric in here?
No, we cannot get Eric in here. We need
It'd be
to.
very fun to have Eric in here right now.
Eric is literally right here. He's in the office.
No, I'm not putting Eric on this AMA. Me and John are just trying to get through this great question list to explain to the community what this integration is about. And I feel like we haven't even talked about what Zion is.
Because everyone knows what Zion is. That's the point of abstraction, Julie.
I don't know, Anthony. Most of the people in this space are ninjas. They have no idea what Zion is.
I
So
don't know,
if you
man.
could,
I'm just saying. The thing about Zion is we abstract the crypto complexities away, right? So really, no one should know about Zion. You should just interact with Zion. You know what I mean, Julie? And
you should be a politician. That was a very political answer.
right?
Wow.
This is going off the rails so quickly.
All right. And in all seriousness, Mr. Banksy, can you please give a small introduction into what Zion is and what do you mean when you say generalized abstraction?
Oh, that's a great question. The Burnt Zion account. Um, uh, Zion is a generalized abstraction layer. We remove all the complexities of crypto away for a completely seamless Web2 experience. And the reason we're here, for all those wondering, is it's 9 minutes in and we're starting to get a little serious. We have a very large announcement, an integration with the Injective ecosystem, utilizing our chain abstraction to interact with the Talus marketplace, where I see a couple premier ninjas here, through Zion and through the abstraction through Zion. So anyone, anywhere, with any with any crypto background or lack thereof, can be able to can interact.
Yeah.
So what do you
Just to
think about the
even add on,
integration? Yeah.
I think it was amazing. So initially, how you onboard onto any NFT marketplace, Injective included, right? Through Talus, you log on with a crypto wallet, etc. Then you can mint your NFT. The integration that you saw a couple days ago basically allows you to onboard onto Talus with your normal email address, right? Which is sure, maybe it's not the best thing for crypto native folks who are used to using private keys, etc. But for the vast majority of the world, that's how they're used to accessing sort of apps online or apps on the phone. So the fact that you can actually just go in with your email, click one button, and see a seamless mint of an NFT on Talus on the other side, that's kind of phenomenal, right? That's some of the keys that we're trying to unlock with alongside Zion, of course, in terms of onboarding a new cohort of users that previously were not able to access crypto. So yeah, it was actually I was blown away by how seamless the experience was in terms of
Aww.
just like the clicking experience, just going in. Yeah, don't worry, that's the only compliment I'm giving you on this.
Ah.
But yeah. But no, I thought it was great, and we have a lot of cool, exciting things coming up, right? So basically, Talus and being able to go and mint an NFT is just like the tip of the iceberg. Think of people being able to access all of the amazing DeFi protocols or different protocols on Injective in general, just using normal onboarding rails like an email address, right? That's where you unlock tremendous value for just Injective and crypto and users in general. So yeah, I think it's just the start.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then definitely, obviously shout out Talus, shout out Nomos, all these guys. It's definitely been a multi-party project that has been going on for quite some time. And it has been, I mean, obviously I've been working with the Injective team for a while now, but it has been awesome to work with, so many great parties within the Injective ecosystem and the Cosmos ecosystem. I see a couple of names here. Like I see a scraper here. I know they're both that might be a future upcoming one. But it's all very exciting stuff. And I think to Mrs. point, really, I think when we were building it, the main thing that we wanted to do was just kind of remove every aspect of crypto. Obviously we wanted to explain what was going on. We were definitely, if anyone noticed, we were heavily inspired by the Domino's pizza tracker when minting an NFT. And, we're at an interesting inflection point in the industry, which is educating while also not requiring education to move forward. So, yeah, as Ramirez said, it's the tip of the iceberg, and we're all very, very excited. Now I have a question. Fondu, shut up. Where do you see Injective in 5 years, Mirza? Obviously this is the starting point. Where are we going from here?
Very nice. Very unique and insightful question.
I'm going down the question list because I'm going to get yelled at if I don't. Okay.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate it. So I think like the next stage is so what I think Injective has managed to do extraordinarily well over the last few years is just make the rails for building on Injective easier than ever before, right? So when you think about a lot of technical sort of work we did on the back end to optimize speeds, to make sure Injective is one of the fastest blockchains out there, or to make sure where Injective is arguably the cheapest blockchain out there right now in terms of fees. But then also making it very, very easy for developers to onboard. So the cool part about Injective is, unlike any other chain or rollup solution out there, you get a set of key modules that you can just come and plug and play them together to build your application, right? So if you want to build a new DEX, you want to build a new lending protocol, you want to build a new predictions market to figure out who's going to win the next election. Typically, no matter what chain you're on, yes, they might be fast and cheap. It's probably going to take you months, sometimes a year, to build very cool applications, right? Because you have to build most of these things from scratch. On Injective, it's totally opposite because what we realize is we need faster time to market in crypto because we can't just spend months and months or even years doing research. So how do we get people up and running as fast as possible? Well, you give them a set of cool modules or templates that you can take and build your application. I've seen people build a new DEX on Injective in a couple hours, right? Which is unheard of in any other ecosystem. So when you really lower that barrier to entry in terms of people onboarding, and then you also tack on the fact that, hey, it's super fast, super cheap, and then the final cool component of Injective is what do you need for finance to truly flourish? You need really, really good liquidity. So you integrate all of these interesting institutions on the back end where the user doesn't really have to know about it, but we've done a lot of heavy lifting over the last 2-3 years to onboard most of the big guys you see in the space, whether it be the Jumps of the world, the Galaxies of the world. They're sort of providing liquidity 24/7 to these order books. So if you're an app, you don't need to shell out lots of money or incentives or make these shady backdoor deals to get up and running, right? Like you just have access to liquidity, you have access to easy to build apps, and you have access to like this really, really great infrastructure to have fast and cheap transactions. So in the next 5 years, what I think this will enable is a new sort of cohort of applications. Some of them hopefully powered by both us and of course XION to onboard people, right, much more easily. Getting new rails in terms of payments or allowing people to onboard with just fiat much more easily onto Injective dApps where they don't have to sort of go through the clunkiness of onboarding. So when you take out those sort of barriers to entry, you just see a lot more usage, a lot more development. And I think a lot of this will be helped by a huge initiative we're working on in Injective. Most of you know about it for the past sort of year and a half or so, in terms of creating this integrated VM environment where you're not held back just because we have a WASM environment. You can code in EVM or you can bring SVM, which is a Solana virtual machine, all in one. So you can just onboard any type of developer, you can onboard any type of user, and that's how you really hopefully get to mass adoption. I know everyone in crypto talks about it, but I believe in my humble opinion that very few people are actually working towards it. in terms of just making it easier, not only for users, but also developers to come and build and launch interesting applications. Because as infrastructure providers, there's only so much you can do in terms of onboarding users. You can provide the Rails, but oftentimes a lot of user onboarding happens at the application level. So if you can have good infrastructure, great infrastructure to build interesting applications, and then on top of that, have easy to access Rails for users, that's how you actually get to that adoption or critical mass.
Wow, that was quite the insightful response. If only Burnt Banksy would give us a few more of those. But kind of going off of exactly what you were saying, Mirza, which is you know a lot of what you guys do as well is in a way abstract a lot of the things that are going on in the background to power a lot of these DeFi primitives. And question for you, Mr. Banksy, is we've been hearing a lot more about chain abstraction recently and being able to do things across ecosystems. But how is Zion going about it differently? Like what are the things that kind of set Zion apart in that sense?
That's a great question, and Jean, I apologize for telling you to shut up. That wasn't very cash money of me. So I will refrain from doing that in the future. But I think I think that chain abstraction is a very broad word. I think when we wrote our white paper published our white paper back in December, we called it generalized abstraction, mainly because I think account abstraction was the hot kind of thing then, which was like 4337. And I think the way that we looked at it was, if you want to look at the order of which we kind of built it, was our parameterized fee layer, which was like what we called gas abstraction, to the idea of, hey, this is a terrible user experience. I think the first thing that really needs to go is this user language around onboarding and like bridging and needing money in your wallet to be able to do anything. And then after that, I would say came our protocol level account abstraction, which kind of tied everything really together. And you can actually see this pretty well once it all comes together. But obviously it took 2 years to kind of get to where we are now. And then what you would call chain abstraction, right? Which is, okay, now let's take what we've done and be able to apply it everywhere. And this is obviously the main reason we're able to do this is because everything is a smart contract account, right? And so obviously what you probably notice when you use the the application was that you didn't have to download, you didn't have to use a capital, you didn't have to use a MetaMask, you didn't have to do any Chrome extension. It was just a very simple email. When eventually what my goal is to get, right, is to have a complete Web2 experience. And obviously this is going to take time. And obviously there's going to be products that benefit in different capacities than, something like a Talus. But I think there's this concept of like, hey, we can talk buzzwords all day long, but I think the main way that we really hit this is just abstracting everything. And so whether the hit point is chain abstraction, whether the hit point is account abstraction, Zion has always been just about abstraction. And I will tell you, everyone in this office will attest to how annoying Jean and I have been about just saying, literally in any capacity, like Mirza would stub his toe and I'd be like, you know what solves this? Generalized abstraction. And like, it's true. Generalized abstraction solves everything. World hunger, you really, everything. The list goes on. And, let alone just having, as I broke down yesterday crying that people didn't have access to the blockchain. It really is this next generation that's coming through, leading the light. And then of course, Injective kind of having the first charge of that.
And Mirza, a question, for you, and something that's been really exciting and interesting to see with Injective is, you guys have a very finance focus, but as you've seen, the use cases across the Injective ecosystem have a whole range of things, not just purely DeFi, but also, more on some of the consumer use cases and stuff. And what would you attribute, to the way that the ecosystem has been growing and the way that you guys are able to facilitate a lot of different use cases, and especially when we talk about mass adoption and actually onboarding, a lot of people?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And initially, we were also surprised by it, right? So initially, when Injective was built, it's like, oh, it's a really good blockchain for DEXs. And slowly, as the liquidity came on, as full DEXs were built, people started to experiment with other DeFi protocols, right? Whether it be lending or options, etc. But one thing that set Injective apart to this day, in my opinion, is just the amazing community of ninjas, right? And what they wanted to do is what we ultimately wanted to cater to, right? So they, for instance, wanted to trade NFTs on Injective because they like the liquidity, they like the infrastructure, they like the cheap, low fees and fast transactions. So in no time, we had NFTs burgeoning sort of on Injective. It happened very quickly, I would say. So some community members wanted to sort of launch and mint NFTs. There's a protocol, obviously Talus. They actually used to be on Terra, um, but obviously after Terra demise came, they moved on over to Injective because it was only like the real performant blockchain left, where you could just sort of deploy smart contracts and CosmWasm. So they came on board, which really helped enable NFTs to spring up in a huge way on Injective, where right now I think if you look at any other chain, whether it be in the Cosmos ecosystem, if you look at most other chains in general, Injective is one of the top blockchains for NFT trading activity, which I think is insane, especially because that wasn't even our initial sort of mission, but it came to be because the community wanted it. And from there, from NFTs, we're starting to see a lot of interesting sort of use cases spring up. You have no idea how many gaming projects sort of ping us now in terms of wanting to deploy, wanting to work, just because NFTs are like gaming is a direct evolution of NFTs, especially in Web3, because it serves as a token in many gaming platforms. It is able to sort of help bring that up. So I think Injective is interesting because we didn't sort of force these different verticals down anyone's throat. I think many other blockchains try to be sort of like this jack of all trades. Injective is much more methodical in terms of the different use cases that come up. And I think a lot of it is just community led, where, yeah, it started with DEXs, went into DeFi in general, NFTs came up, and now gaming is coming up. And a bunch of different things are just enabled by the community, whether it be sort of DeFi, SocialFi, etc. We definitely still want to focus directly onto this funnel of finance, but finance is just so expansive. And that's what we're trying to do a better job of in terms of educating the community that, hey, Injective is more than just DeFi, because finance is all encompassing and it takes our entire lives to sort of um, know and understand finance. If you think of payments, if you think of NFTs, if you think of GameFi, any of it, there is a finance angle to all of it, and we want to cater to all of these different sort of financial use cases, whether it be DeFi or beyond. So yeah, that's sort of a quick look into the evolution of how
Yeah,
Injective came up with
that
these use cases.
that makes a lot of sense, and it's really cool to see kind of the organic side of it, and honestly, a perfect segue into, both projects have built really strong communities, and whether it's the ninjas or the syndicates, and this one's a little bit for you, Mr. Burnt Banksy, but there's been a lot of growth, especially in the past year. What would you attribute to that, and what do you think is key to having strong communities that really lead the projects in these organic directions?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess like first and foremost, we're not a community, we're a cult. And of course, we expect all cult members to be willing to sacrifice their lives for the greater cause. And I think at the end of the day, it is a greater cause, right? Everyone needs abstraction, and then everyone needs the blockchain. And so, there's a lot of people who are willing to die for the cause, and I think we just attract those. But when it comes to running a cult, obviously it's about a higher vision. It's about people who align on a similar cause, who are just excited to kind of wake up every morning and viciously attack people who disagree with them. And that's kind of the tenets of what we preach here at the Cult of Scientology. um, you know, but I think at the end of the day, it's about having fun. Because this isn't like it's. I see a lot of different things where the community ends up being a job, and like a 9 to 5. When I think what we just aim for is just shit posting and having a lot of fun. And I've known, I mean, there's a lot of people that I've known in both the Injective community and the XION cult who, I think at the end of the day, it's first and foremost, it's about having fun. Um, and and yeah, what about you, Musa, in your non-cult?
Oh, we don't pretend to create a cult. Our community is just
No, we have a
far
cult.
superior and better. Oh, that's great. I'm glad. It's like people who say that they're something. That's when you know they're not that thing. But yeah, that's
You
great.
wish you could be a cult. I think it's really.
Yeah, of
And I
course.
quote, this is an
We're happy
exact
not to control any of our community members. They're
well, we
here
don't
on their
Yes.
own
control. I
volition,
don't
own
control
choice.
anyone.
We
I
love
don't.
that.
That is divine spirit that controls them. That's not me. If you're calling me a divine spirit, Julie, that's another
This
conversation.
sounds like
And
a
I'm
Mormon
okay.
sort of sermon right now. Literally, sound like Tom Cruise preaching Scientology right now.
Listen, I'm sorry that I'm
Scientology or
speaking.
Ziontology. Poor Jean.
John keeps trying to make this conversation serious, and Anthony derails it at every moment.
What did I do? What the
Um,
fuck did I do?
All right.
I am.
We only have a few minutes left, and honestly, this last question might derail it the most, which is why it's the last one. But we're going to do a round of your spiciest takes in the industry. Well, two questions: what you're most excited about, and then what is your spiciest take? And we'll
Can we
we'll
start with
start
Julie?
with you, Mirza, because we want to make sure we can turn the stream off pretty quickly when Mr. Banksy answers.
That's a good point.
Oh, that's good. Wait, did Julie just leave because we wanted her to answer? That's crazy. Um, what I'm most excited about. So I think I'm most excited. I mean, I kind of touched on it in my last answer. I'm very excited for this new VM layers. I want to see any sort of developer come and build cool applications. I'm excited to see people come in with just an email address, with, of course, the help of Mr. Banksy and mainly his team, not him, because he doesn't actually add any real value. But I'm very excited to see people just come on to Injective with just their email address. And I I know it's kind of become a meme that in crypto. I think that's the spiciest take where people continue to say, "Oh, the mass adoption is coming. We're going to reach the next billion users, or the institutions are coming." I think they're not coming. Is my spiciest take because what we've like only done in crypto for many years is just like talk about the same points. If you look at any new crypto project, they'll claim they're onboarding the next billion users. It's like, dude, they're probably not even like 10 million actual users in DeFi. There might be wallets because a bunch of people are airdrop farming, but they're not like actual users. So I think the industry has a massive problem in terms of just the user onboarding, right? And in terms of institutional use cases, no one's really done interesting things. Of course, I think Injective has done a lot of interesting things to onboard institutions, but most people just talk about it and just say, hey, the institutions are coming. But ultimately, what's left out in crypto is if you don't have a good influx of users being able to onboard and come on, you won't actually get institutional interest because why should they come onto a speculative industry if you haven't made it easy or compliant for these institutions to onboard? That's what most chains or most people miss. And I kind of hate the fact that crypto projects just do a bunch of marketing to say that these things are happening when they're literally not. If you look at any of these new blockchains, like they come out of nowhere and like 6 months they claim to do XYZ when ultimately all they've done is written a research paper and done some marketing on Twitter. It takes years and years. Like Injective has been around since 2018 and only we know like it took like even a year to onboard one like person like Jump or to get them to integrate. So it's just a timing thing and it takes a lot of time. So yeah, that's my spiciest take. I wish like crypto companies would actually get things done and instead of just like marketing random things.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I mean I've obviously been here for a while, and once you go through a lot of cycles, you definitely see, uh, you know, you see when the money's pouring in because a lot of really shitty projects come out, and then it's nice to see them get washed away, kind of in the bear. Um, and I remember I was talking to some of the community, I think like yesterday or 2 days ago about this, of just like, it's like, yeah, I know we're back because I get very frustrated at some of these conversations. But yeah, it's really funny. Like to Mills' point, it was really frustrating to us, which was, you know, I believe obviously that we're trying to onboard the next billion users because we want to meet them where they are and we want to make it extremely simple. Right now, crypto completely as a use case is capped by the number of wallets. And it always obviously will be when you're just purely using EOAs. And so it was very frustrating, I would say, because I think everyone wants a billion users. Like that's probably a universal good thing. But if you're saying we're going to get a billion users by having a billion people download wallets and go through a 30 to 40 step onboarding process that takes multiple days, then it's a joke. Like that's just a pure blown joke. And I think, as it relates, and I think it's interesting because obviously, like, if you could tell, we've been working with Injective very closely, but like, it's been very nice to kind of take this other end of, you know, there being the blockchain for finance and then us being kind of this consumer approach. And then just seeing both sides of the market is really, really interesting. I think you get copy pastas on both sides. You get interesting experiments on both sides, but they're interesting to see how different the experiments are and, the different tools you need to tailor for different experiences. I think I kind of always joke about, and I think Jean and Mirza love when I say this, which is like, I don't think that like the next, grandmothers are going to be slinging perps, but at the same kind of point, like there's a lot of people using perps and there's a lot of volume in perps, and I think there's a lot of a huge, huge market in perpetuals, right? And I think it's something that's extremely interesting that crypto is innovated on and really saw. I mean, obviously, you kind of had early versions of perps with like early betting markets, but I think when you bring that out to like the mainstream, it becomes super, super exciting. And then being able to then expand past, the ceiling that is wallets is what I'm extremely excited about. Being able to interact with crypto without knowing it, interacting with crypto. Um, I think that's my favorite thing. And then my spiciest take is that like obviously we're getting, I don't even think we're like peak bull, like not even close to peak bull, but like you're starting to see early reminiscence of like some people already starting to falter. So should be interesting, should be fun. But yeah. Fondu, what about you? I don't know.
That's actually such a good take. I already love that some people are getting jaded because we have like what a couple weeks of a down market and they're like, "Oh, the market's over." I'm like, "This
Oh, it's
is
so
literally
over.
yeah. It's just part of the process." But yeah, I find it hilarious.
You gotta have that. Fondu, what about you?
Awesome. Uh,
Before we cut
it'll
this.
be for another day. We're a few minutes over here, but
No,
just
let's
wanted
hear
to just
one spicy take.
Yeah, I
I
want
think
to
we
hear
have a
your
minute.
spicy take. We have a minute.
one spicy take.
Yeah.
I am completely lost when it comes to Bitcoin L2s. I'm very confused about what exactly they are. It feels like they just kind of are writing this Bitcoin narrative, and not sure if they'll be the next big thing as they're made out to be. But
I'll add on to that. I think unless something changes in the bytecode, they're fucking useless. I think otherwise you're getting like effectively a side chain with Bitcoin. Or I like Babylon. Like I really like a lot of some of the projects. Like I think Babylon security is very, very fucking interesting. But I think unless like for a real L2, like unless we kind of work with the bytecode there, then we're effectively just making side chains with separate validator sets. That's my hot take on Bitcoin L2s. But I agree with you,
It's
Sean.
a very spicy take. Yeah, no, for sure.
and I
And
would
the
say
experiment's been tried before, like with Stacks and many others. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you really look at some of these blockchains, like, yes, they sound cool, but in terms of user activity, etc., it's far less than EVM, even far less than Cosmos. So I just don't see how these different L2s are going to change it. But I would love to be proven wrong.
yeah, and
Yeah.
also just in terms of everything we were talking about today as well, with the user experience stuff, it feels like they're at the early stages of, hey, here's a new L2, here's infrastructure, but then there's the whole, okay, but how do users actually onboard and use this seamlessly for them to not know that it's, who cares that it's an L2 or whatever. And kind of bringing this whole thing to a close. Wanted to thank obviously Mirza and Burnt Banksy for all the insights and staying more or less on the rails. and just in general for everyone who's been tuning in, both communities, as you heard it here today. Both the ninjas and the syndicates are massive part of both of these projects. Doing well, and so it's always exciting to see everyone coming by. And if you're interested, if you're a new person listening in, there are lots of resources out there to be joining both ecosystems. Whether it's becoming a ninja syndicate, there's lots of different ways to contribute. And then, of course, make sure that you're following both Injective and XION for a lot of the upcoming and really exciting news. So, once again, thanks, Mirza and Burnt Banksy, for your time. And hopefully we do this again soon.
Yeah. All right, and I will see you all soon. Bye,
Bye, everyone.